The creator of the Oatmeal, Matthew Inman, released a new cat-themed mobile word game called Kitty Letter earlier in the week that feels like playing one of his silly comic strips. That feeling was intentional, Inman said in an interview. My comics have always been rhetorical, he said. You don't interact with the comic, you have no say in it. You're just experiencing it. So with Kitty Letter, I got a chance to introduce some elements where people get to play with the comic, and I thought that was a lot of fun. Kitty Letter has a structure that Inman described as Scrabble combined with Clash Royale. Your goal is to beat your opponent by spelling words from a combination of letters at the bottom of your phone's screen. When you spell a word, you'll send a small army of cats up a visible lane towards your opponent. Meanwhile, your opponent is sending armies of cats to try and defeat you. The game was actually going to be multiplayer at first, but Inman said that people might be surprised to know this because once you've played the game, well, it has a huge, robust story mode spanning 13 chapters. But that story mode was actually born from creating the game's tutorial. Inman acknowledged that he can offer the game largely for free because of his other successful ventures, which includes the Oatmeal, a hugely successful card game exploring kittens. I'm not just some altruistic guy that doesn't want to make a living from his work, he said. To be completely candid, we make a great living from our card games, and we make a great living from some of the other things I do too. With Kitty Letter, I felt we could just get away with making it as enjoyable as possible. Inman has a lot of ideas for what's next for the game. He'd like to improve the arcade mode, add more single-player levels, and squash bugs as well. He'd also like to port the game to Steam and the Nintendo Switch, but those might be a little further away. He said probably call it 6 months or so. During the interview, he was asked, were cats always the focus of the game? And he responded with, it was cats from day one. It was actually called Cats Royale originally. Oh, this is so exciting. The NASA Perseverance rover safely landed on Mars after its 292.5 million mile journey from Earth. The agency confirmed that recently and sent out a beautiful video that showed the landing. The rover landed itself flawlessly according to the mission's team. Percy, as the spacecraft is affectionately called at Mission Control, sent back its first images of the landing site immediately after touchdown, which showed the rover's shadow on the surface of the landing site of the Jezero crater. The rover has been on a nearly 300 million mile journey since it left Earth more than 6 months ago. Perseverance and her teams lived up to the namesake, overcoming the challenges of preparing for the journey's final stages during a pandemic. This landing is one of those pivotal moments for NASA, the United States, and space exploration globally. The Mars 2020 Perseverance mission embodies our nation's spirit of persevering even in the most challenging of situations, inspiring and advancing science and exploration. The mission itself personifies the human ideal of persevering towards the future and will help us prepare for human exploration of the red planet in the 2030s. Humanity's love affair with Mars is an enduring one, full of wonder about the possibility of life on this mysterious neighboring planet. This historic mission can search for evidence that could give us the ultimate answer. Perseverance is full of firsts, the search for signs of ancient life on Mars, the first helicopter flying on an alien planet, the first recordings of sound on the red planet as well. The most sophisticated rover that has been built to date has a packed agenda for the next few years or so. The rover will explore Jezero crater, the site of an ancient large lake that existed 3.9 billion years ago and search for microfossils in the rocks and soil there. Follow-up missions will return samples of this site collected by Perseverance to Earth somewhere in the 2030s. Along for the ride with Perseverance is an experiment to fly a helicopter called Ingenuity on another planet for the very first time. Because of today's exciting events, the first pristine samples from carefully documented locations on another planet are another step closer to being returned to Earth, said Thomas Zurbuchen. He's the Associate Administrator for NASA's Science Mission Directorate. Perseverance is the next step in bringing back rock and debris from Mars. We don't know what these pristine samples from Mars will tell us, but what they could tell us is monumental, including that life might have once existed beyond Earth. Now that the rover has landed, the mission truly begins. I'll keep you updated when I hear more, right here on your weekly Tech Update. When scientists wish to gather oceanic data over long distances, but without disturbing marine life, autonomous underwater gliders are often used. A new one is claimed to be highly maneuverable, yet it has no external propulsion or steering system. Developed by a team at Indiana's Purdue University, the torpedo-shaped autonomous underwater vehicle, or AUV, is known as the Research-Oriented Underwater Glider for Hands-on Investigative Engineering, or ROGUE for short, I guess. It descends and climbs within the water column by pumping water in and out of integrated ballast tanks, varying its buoyancy. This serves as a form of propulsion since the vehicle moves up and down at an angle going forward as it goes. It can control the angle at which it rises and falls by electronically sliding its battery to the front or the back of its body. Doing so changes the UAV's horizontal center of weight. Additionally, the rail-mounted battery and other internal components can be tilted together to the port or starboard sides relative to the cylinder's outer shell. This produces a weight shift to one side or the other, causing the vehicle to roll and thus turn in that direction. Unlike other underwater gliders, it's highly maneuverable and should allow it to operate within relatively close confines, including shallow water. According to its designers, whereas other gliders have a turning radius of about 33 feet, Rogue can make turns within just 10 feet. What's more, it should cost about 1/10 as much to manufacture as well. Testing has been limited to swimming pools so far, however. A paper on the technology was recently published in the journal Sensors.